The Blue Jays have been the focus of the Major League Baseball offseason for all the wrong reasons. But this report that came out today changes everything for the future of the franchise if they can get it done. So we'll break down the report, what it said, and how it impacts the Jays going forward on this episode of Jays Digest. Welcome in, everybody, to Jays Digest. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button because a large percentage of you who are watching these videos are not subscribed to the channel. And Nick and I are super close to our goal of 15,000, but it's up to you guys whether or not we can hit it before Christmas, which is just about a week away now. So shout out to you guys for all the support. But Nick, some crazy news dropped today in the form of Ken Rosenthal, who is one of the more credible insiders around Major League Baseball. He dedicated an entire article to the Toronto Blue Jays, and maybe there was some bad mouthing every now and then in that article, but for the most part, it was detailing what they plan on doing with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., what they plan on doing with Bichette, and how they plan to attack the rest of the offseason, which is still pretty lengthy. There still is a lot of time, but if you didn't know any better, you'd think the sky was falling if you were watching our videos or if you were just scrolling through our comment section. But Nick, a lot to dive into in this video here and some positives to take away as well. It's been a lot of negatives so far this offseason. It's been a lot of, oh, why can't they do this? Why can't they do that? Well, they're trying, and that is the one positive that we could take away from this.
Yeah, an interesting article from Ken Rosenthal. Let's dive right into it. And this is behind a paywall, but shout out to Ken Rosenthal for actually doing a whole article. There's a little bit on the Yankees and the A's, surprisingly, but the whole focus is the Blue Jays. It says picture the Jays keeping first baseman Vladdy, trading shortstop Bichette, and signing free agent third baseman Alex Bregman, who we covered in a video yesterday. None of those outcomes are particularly likely. However, all are in play, according to sources briefed on the Jays discussion. So that's an update in itself. They're interested in trading Bichette to a degree, signing Alex Bregman. We'll have a video on that in the future. But this line kind of took Jays Twitter by storm, and it took a lot of interesting, people are just excited about this. The Jays are currently in talks with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. about a long-term extension that would buy him out of his final year of arbitration and enter free agency. They are fielding interest in Bichette, and they are doing, at least on the periphery of the Bregman sweepstakes, even though they're focused on other free agents. We're going to dive into some of that stuff in another video, but the focus of this one is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And that first line has Jays fans fired up here. The Jays are in talks at the moment with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and extending the face of the franchise. And there's a lot of things, and we'll dive into it in a minute here. I just want to get your thoughts on this, Peter. The Jays are finally in talks. We heard some rumblings about them being in talks about Vladdy declining that $340 million deal. That report came out a couple weeks ago, and now they are in talks to extend Vladimir Guerrero Jr. long-term through buying out the final year of arbitration, which is his upcoming year, and then into free agency, of course. So this means that they're hoping to get a deal done, before this upcoming season.
Yeah, and how do you combat not having free agents sign a board with you and not having guys of high profile show interest in your ball club? Well, it's by signing the high profile guys that you already have in-house who have made it clear that they want to be Blue Jays and want to be a part of the solution and not just be shipped off to some other franchise with 1 year remaining on their deals. So Vladdy has been very vocal about how he feels about the Blue Jays organization, the country of Canada as a whole, and at the end of the day, I know his English is not his first language, and he doesn't represent Canada in the World Baseball Classic or whatever, but he's Canadian. He was born in Montreal. He has roots to Canada. So it's a special circumstance here with Vladdy, and his dad was a star with the Montreal Expos, and I'm sure his dad has some regrets every now and then about maybe going to the Angels or going to the Orioles at the end of his career or the Texas Rangers. You know, there's some sort of prestige that stays with you when you are part of one organization for the entirety of your career. And I think Vladdy really acknowledges that. He has a great relationship with the community of Toronto. He's very involved. And when you think about the Blue Jays, we've said this multiple times, Nick, you think Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He is the first player that comes to mind. So sure, you might not be able to attract all the superstar free agents that have been hitting free agency every offseason, but Vladdy is slated to be the number one guy, the top prize of next year's class. And I don't know if you're the Blue Jays, if you can take that risk and let him actually hit free agency. So you have him in house. He's obviously very familiar with your organization. He's been with you since he was 16 years old. Get this thing done. He's expressed interest. You've expressed interest. Now the only thing left to do is just sign that contract and play ball. Don't have this hanging over the fan base.
Yeah, and the amount of money it's going to cost is a lot. You can see this here. Juan Soto, 15 years, $763 million contract. The price will be steep, projected to earn $30 million in this upcoming arbitration year. And he goes in to kind of discuss that Guerrero will be 6 years younger when his deal starts. He is a team leader, improved defender. Of course, all the things you just mentioned. So what might Guerrero want? A $400 million deal, $400 million deal. Will be half of Soto's. A deal in the $500 to $600 million range, excessive as it might sound, is probably more realistic, which is absolutely absurd to me. I mean, keep in mind the Jays will need to pay a premium from preventing Guerrero from testing the market, and if they lose him, their already disgruntled fan base might revolt. Now, this is the thing here. Let us know down in the comment section, and obviously ask you, Peter. I mean, 500 to 600 million, 400 is stretching it. I think I'd probably do a $400 million deal if that stops him 450 from entering free agency in the following offseason. But when it comes to 500 to even like 600 million, we're approaching Shohei Ohtani money here for a first baseman who, is very good. Put up above a 6 WAR last season, but man, oh man, for someone who is coming off of the year before last, putting up only a 2 WAR, paying him $600 million seems a little bit excessive to me, but that, I don't know if it's going to be 600, more likely 500. That's what it's going to take to get him to not test free agency, because at this point he's seen what all these players are doing. Juan Soto, Shohei Ohtani, and Kyle Tucker obviously is going to probably test free agency as well. He's going to get a ton of money, and he's an outfielder. It's that's a scary, scary number that he reports, but fans really want it. Fans want it to be done. Fans are fired up about it, so I think they'll get it done. Though I don't know if 500 to 600 million is in the comfort zone for Rodgers.
This is the way that the market is moving, Nick, and we just have to come to accept it. I don't know if you saw this little tidbit that came out, but Chipper Jones was on the Foul Territory podcast, I believe, the one with AJ Przinsky, something like that. And he said if Juan Soto was a free agent before Shohei Ohtani, Ohtani would have gotten $1 billion. And I honestly would not put it past whatever team were to sign Ohtani to give him $1 billion, because this is the landscape of Major League Baseball now. And is Vladdy worth $500 million? Absolutely not. Is any player worth $500 million that isn't named Shohei Ohtani? I really don't think so. But you can't justify that price tag. The Mets are not going to make $800 million of revenue just on Juan Soto alone. They're going to lose some money on that contract, but they're paying for the player. They're paying to be a serious contender when it comes to World Series, and they're tired of being pushed around by the Yankees. They're tired of being the little brother in New York. So what does that take? It takes you spending a ridiculous amount of money and going over your comfort zone to get this deal done. So I've been teetering on this line, Nick, of how much I'd be willing to pay Vladdy if I'm the Blue Jays front office. I said 300 would be excessive, just based off the inconsistencies that we've seen from him. 400 is a world that I didn't even think would be possible just a year ago. And now you're bringing up 500 to $600 million to me. It's ludicrous. But like you said, you cannot afford to lose Vladdy. And that article summed it up perfectly. An already disgruntled Jays fan base will revolt. They will lose their minds. So if you already hate Ross Atkins, think you'll hate him just a little bit more if Vladdy walks out that door in a year's time. So if it takes 500 million, so be it, man. Just get it done. And it's not my money. It's easy for me to say this. And I've kind of been in the camp of saying don't give that to him, because I don't think anyone in their right minds would do that, would make that kind of deal. But I'm sure there's some guy out there, some executive that's willing to go to the lengths that it'll take to get Vladdy. So if it's 500 million, I mean, if that's what it takes, you have to get it done. You cannot afford to lose Vladdy. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
There's no price tag on this.
And I'd argue that the fan base is already starting to revolt a little bit based off of
Yes.
their offseason moves so far. And again, we've been discussing Teoscar Hernandez, Anthony Santander. They have a ton of work to do. And step one should be extending Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And hopefully we'll hear some more on that soon. But a huge report. And at the very least, a step in the right direction and something that's been a very disappointing offseason thus far. But there's still lots of time, lots of moves to be made. At least lots of available players. A lot of available players to be made. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know down below what your thoughts are on this. And again, how much would you be willing to give Vladimir Guerrero Jr. if you're the front office? Let us know. See you guys later.